In 2036, the world has been destroyed by the T-virus pandemic. Earth's ecosystems have been crushed, governments and cities have collapsed, and the human population has severely shrunk. Around 6 billion people have been infected and suffer from brain damage that transforms them into violent cannibals known as zeros. Most of the world is a wasteland, so humanity lives in walled cities called freeholds. In London, Jade works as a researcher for the university, an organization devoted to research and preservation of artifacts from before the apocalypse. Her project is to record any new mutations in the zeros, so she spends a lot of time moving around and only sees her partner Arjun and her daughter B on video calls. Jade puts on perfume to hide her smell and goes out with a rabbit to conduct an experiment. After setting up her camera, she puts a drop of blood on the rabbit and leaves it in the middle of an open area. A bunch of zeros smell the blood and start chasing the rabbit, who just runs away as the zeros bump into each other. Jade notices that they still have no coordination skills or pack structure. When she tries to leave, she accidentally gets a scratch on her arm and the smell of blood immediately alerts the zeros. A chase ensues and Jade runs as fast as she can, but a zero manages to jump on her anyway. She struggles against it until she can push it back into the security perimeter, where flamethrowers activate and burn the horde down. Once they're all dead, a red smoke puts out the flames. Suddenly the ground starts shaking and a massive caterpillar bursts out. Jade immediately runs to hide, but the caterpillar catches her by the legs and throws her on top of a car. When the creature is about to kill her, 3 armed men show up and open fire, quickly killing it. Then they check on Jade to make sure she's fine and are shocked to see a tattoo on her wrist that means she's a survivor from the initial outbreak. This all started 14 years ago in 2022. 3 months before the pandemic, half-twins Jade and Billie moved to new Raccoon City because their father Albert has returned to his job in the Umbrella Corporation's board of executives after a long absence. New Raccoon City is a planned community built in South Africa and everyone there is an employee of Umbrella in some way. The girls aren't happy about the move and often call out their dad for caring about work more than them. Every 2 weeks, Albert takes a blood sample from his daughters but has never said why. In secret, Albert studies the samples under a microscope before recording his findings and injecting the blood into his neck. The next day at school, Billie sits alone at lunch. Tammy approaches her to learn more about her, only to then start mocking everything about Billie. A frustrated Billie gives her the finger and Tammy retaliates by attacking her, so they fight on the ground until a teacher forces them to split. The sisters rush home and Jade tries to comfort her sister. However, they discover the fight has been uploaded to social media and now Billie is a joke among classmates. The following day at Umbrella, Roth shows Albert footage of an experiment going wrong in Tijuana and all the violence it caused, which ended with 6 injured and 3 dead people. The company has covered it all up but Albert worries because it's happening again. Meanwhile at school, Tammy is in the bathroom when a student wearing the mascot mask suddenly bashes her head. Afterward, the principal brings Billie out of class because the mask was found in her locker, so they think she did it. It was actually Jade, who wanted to make her sister look cool. A parents' conference is held and Tammy's dad threatens with pressing criminal charges while calling Billie a schizophrenic. At that moment Albert comes in and reminds the guy that he's just a low-level employee while Albert is part of the company board, so he has the power to fire and blacklist everyone from employment in other companies. The man apologizes for what he said and forces Tammy to apologize to Billie too. Albert feels like a good father and offers Billie to have lunch with him at his office. After school, Billie goes to Umbrella. As she walks through the corridors, she sees different company projects, from medical machines to a bear hologram that sells medicine. Eventually she reaches the waiting room and is devastated to see a car pass with wounded rabbits, meaning they use animals for their experiments. Later in the evening, Billie asks Jade to help her sneak into Umbrella and get proof of the animal experimentation. They steal Albert's stuff and head to Umbrella, where Albert's voicemail allows them to get past the voice scan at the entrance and his keycard gives access to the elevator and the lab. Billie immediately begins recording the animals in their cages while Jade guesses her dad uses the same password for everything and accesses his computer. There she finds the Tijuana clip and notices Umbrella guards shooting at people. Then Billie opens a mysterious door, only for a mutated Doberman to come out. The beast tries to attack, so the girls take the elevator to escape and discover the alarms have finally activated. The dog escapes the lab and is so strong that it's pounding on metal. The sisters run to hide under a table and wait for the dog to go down the corridor. Next, Billie tries opening the door, but this triggers the hologram. The dog follows the noise and finds the sisters under the table. Luckily, they move just in time to run out of the room. They rush to the entrance, yet they can't open the door, and the dog catches up to them by jumping through a window. The beast attacks Billie and starts mauling her, so Jade grabs a fire extinguisher and pounds the dog to death. Then Jade clings to her sister as she bleeds out. In the present, Jade wakes up in a freehold's medical bay, where all her wounds have already been healed. While she checks the news on a device, she's found by Tate, who gives her a tour. Jade wants to go back to her camp, so Tate shoots a flare to show her that their walls are surrounded by zeros. If Jade wants to leave, she'll have to wait for their only helicopter to return. While Tate and Jade discuss the situation, a person announces that an Umbrella helicopter is on its way. It turns out Umbrella has a bounty on original survivors and Jade is number on the list. While Tate keeps Jade at gunpoint, 2 choppers arrive with Umbrella troops led by Baxter. As soon as Tate points Jade out to him, Baxter shoots him and orders his troops to wipe out the locals. A shootout ensues and people start dropping dead while Jade runs away. Soon the soldiers also use a flamethrower to bring down the building. Jade tries to avoid the flames and finds her path blocked by the soldiers and Baxter, who says her sister has been looking for her. Jade refuses to cooperate and jumps right into the massive horde of Zeros. She lands on a dumpster and rolls on the floor, where the Zeros start chasing her. Jade begins running again while Baxter orders his men to open fire on the Zeros to keep Jade alive. As she uses a clear wall as a shield, Baxter promises to save her if she agrees to leave with him. At that moment a local bursts out of the building in a car, so Jade pushes a bunch of Zeros away to reach the vehicle and climb on its roof. The driver quickly takes off, but when it's about to reach the exit and the outer walls, the car stops to avoid Jade getting hurt by the spikes on the roof. Then the driver points a gun at her, telling her to get away from him because her presence makes him a target too. Jade tries to convince him to work together, but at that moment the Zeros start falling around them because they're jumping from the roof. The driver shoots a few of them, but he's soon overpowered and Jade fails to save him. While the Zeros feed on him, Jade breaks the window to take the driver's seat and finally leave the freehold. Eventually Jade makes it to the Dover freehold, which recently signed a security contract with Umbrella for extra protection. Jade makes it to an apartment belonging to Melinda, whose husband Barry has helped her in the past. Barry isn't around, but Melinda allows her to come in and use her tablet. Jade calls Arjun to warn him Umbrella is after her and he advises her to cross the channel to Calais, a territory that belongs to an organization known as Brotherhood. At that moment Jade hears a weird noise and enters the bathroom only to find a handcuffed Barry, who has become a Zero. Melinda explains he chained himself because he felt sick and guessed he was infected. She also says that Barry has the book with all his smuggler contacts, so Jade will have to retrieve it if she wants to escape. Jade gears up with random household objects and enters the bathroom again, discovering that Melinda has been feeding her cats to Barry. She manages to knock him down and starts searching his pockets to finally find the notebook. Suddenly Barry's wrist breaks and he frees himself from the handcuffs, pushing Jade away to attack Melinda instead. When he's about to kill her, Jade kills him from behind. After Jade leaves, Baxter arrives and interrogates Melinda. At the local tavern, Jade meets Barry's contact and tries to get a ride with her wedding ring, but the smuggler wants her to pay off Barry's debt too. Since she can't pay, she instead steals the ticket from a drunkard. In the evening, Jade waits by the pier for the ferry, only for Baxter and his men to suddenly arrive. They shoot the smuggler and then a drone opens fire all over the area, causing the crowd to panic and start running. Jade runs as well and finds a gun on the ground that she grabs before hiding. Then she notices a very scared boy, so she picks him up and enters a warehouse to protect him. Soon Baxter's men have either killed or captured every person on the pier, but Baxter still makes them search the area for Jade. At that moment a door opens in the warehouse, but it's just the boy's parents. They have a bunch of alcohol that they want to smuggle to Calais to start a new life, so Jade agrees to team up with them and pay for the Channel Tunnel route. In 2022, a bleeding Billie wakes up and Jade helps her walk into another room, where she checks the awful wound. At that moment they're found by Albert, who quickly wraps up the injury and tells the girls to escape through a side door because the guards are on their way. He also warns them not to go to a hospital. While the sisters escape, Albert sabotages the security cameras to cover up his daughter's presence, then he spreads the dog's blood on his head. When the security guards finally arrive, Albert tells Roth and CEO Adeline that the facility was subject to a cyber attack which released the dog's security lock while he was working late. However, Adeline is suspicious because there weren't any ransomware demands. At home, Albert takes care of Billie and is forced to explain the dog was being treated for a rare genetic disease. He asks the twins to keep the secret, warning them that Umbrella would punish them severely if they discover what truly happened. The next morning, Albert checks on Billie by examining her corneas for discoloration. She still feels sore and Albert doesn't like how the wound looks. Meanwhile, Jade searches the internet for reports on the Tijuana incident. There's a website claiming to have the truth, but it's blocked by her internet company. Later at school, Jade is confused because her classmates are too excited about having a copy of an anime series. It turns the internet service also belongs to Umbrella and they've blocked any site related to pirating or naughty stuff. Simon is the only one that can bypass the firewall, so Jade asks him to help her access the website with the truth. He manages to do it and they find discussion about what happened in Tijuana. Apparently a man became a psycho after getting bitten by an animal and started biting other people. Jade uses Simon's laptop to post her email address, mentioning she's witnessing the same thing while telling Simon it's just a prank. Later Jade gets a call from Angel, the admin from the website. He is a reporter who has become obsessed with the unusually high incident rate at Umbrella. He used to work for a newspaper, but his stories went unpublished due to Umbrella's intervention and he was fired. Their conversation is interrupted when Jade is found by the principal and told to go to class, causing Angel to overhear and recognize Jade's surname. At his lab, Albert examines Billie's blood under a microscope and injects it into a lab rat. Suddenly he starts convulsing and injects himself with more of Billy's blood to stabilize his condition. Then he has a meeting with Adeline, who wants to ship out their latest medicine and ignores Albert's warning against dangerous side effects. When Albert tries to quit the project, Adeline reminds him of his condition and how he's only surviving thanks to her company and his own daughter's blood. At home, Billy checks the wound on the mirror and ends up puking in the toilet. Then she tries to walk her dog Pablo, who gets scared and starts barking at her. She forces the leash on him anyway and takes him out, only for Pablo to run faster than usual and break free. He runs down to the park, where he's picked up by a man. Billy rushes to get her dog back, but Pablo growls at her and the guy thinks she's a thief. When he insists on taking him to the shelter, Billy punches the guy and takes Pablo back to the house. Billy gets in the bathroom and notices she's bleeding from her mouth. At the lab, the rat begins smashing the glass. Moments later, Albert goes to his lab and is shocked to see the rat has escaped. Thankfully, it's hiding behind a machine and Albert grabs it to take another blood sample. Seeing its evolution under the microscope, he concludes he has 52 hours to treat Billy before she goes crazy. Meanwhile, Jade gets an email from Simon, who has sent her downloaded a page from Angel's website listing all the allegations of illegal human experimentation conducted by Umbrella. In the morning, Billy gets up feeling very disoriented. However, she's desperate to leave the house and pretends she's fine. Albert checks on the wound and is shocked to see it's better, so he lets her go. At school, Billy becomes distressed after getting hypersensitive to the sound of Simon's skateboard, but she passes it off as medicine hangover. At Umbrella, Adeline holds a board meeting to discuss Tijuana and their medicine. Albert reminds everyone that while their medicine can do miracles, it also contains a derivative of the T virus, which was developed for the US military. An overdose can trigger viral production, mutate the patient, and spread the cannibal disease. He presents his rat as proof, but Adeline presents another animal as a counterpoint. A vicious dog is barking at a cat, however it calms down when Adeline plays a visual trigger and the cat walks safely. She says another team has developed a variant of the medicine and ran it on human trials, during which people responded the same way. She thinks they can sell this medicine if they promote it to eliminate anger. When Albert tries to protest about the dangers, Adeline makes him confess that a person would need 20,000 medicine capsules to overdose, which would never happen. At school, Billy wanders the cafeteria but the loud noises make her hallucinate, so she runs away. During class, Billy begins feeling extremely sick and runs to the bathroom, where she pukes again and sees herself in the mirror as a bloodied corpse, but it's just a hallucination. Meanwhile, Simon informs Jade that Umbrella has updated the firewall and he needs a new code to break it. He's reluctant to try because the timing indicates they may be onto him, causing Jade to argue with him. Billy sees this and overreacts by punching both, only to run away when she realizes what she did. Jade tries to follow her and is blocked by Adeline, who offers her a ride that a wary Jade turns down. Later at home, Jade finds her sister with a broken glass. Billy admits there's something wrong with her, explaining things like sounds and lights hurt her yet there's no pain in the cut on her hand. Jade assures her sister that her emotional state is just a medicine side effect. In the present, Jade and the family head to the tunnel entrance in her car. Eventually they reach another crossing point where they must pay a smuggler with the car and all the family's jewels to be allowed to join the convoy. The refugees board a bunch of vans and leave for the tunnel. Soon Baxter arrives at the same spot, yet the smuggler refuses to give up any information. However, Baxter sees Jade's stolen car and knows he's on the right track. A few hours later, the convoy comes to a stop when they hear some monsters known as lickers in the area. They hunt by sound, so everyone stays quiet while waiting for the lickers to leave. At that moment, Baxter arrives with his men and their noise causes the lickers to attack. As the soldiers open fire and use their flamethrowers, the lickers attack the vans too, so the refugees have to come out and run. Using her gun, Jade helps the smugglers shoot at the creatures, who are killing lots of people on both sides. Only one smuggler is left alive in the end, so he and Jade manage to gather the boy's family and escape through a service hatch, leaving Baxter and his men to deal with the monsters. Then Jade's group have to walk through flooded tunnels. When they finally reach a dry area, the boy begins feeling sick and snarls, making them realize he's infected. Suddenly the smuggler yells at them to run because he's found a giant spider. While he gets killed by the creature, the others run and hide, but they can hear the spider coming closer. The father finds a pipe and goes out to fight the monster so his family can escape. He does manage to hit the spider, however it isn't enough and the creature splits him in two. Jade opens fire but runs out of bullets, so she runs with the mother and the kid. The spider chases after them and when it's close enough, Jade drops the shutter on it, killing it. Afterward the mother announces she refuses to leave her son, so Jade continues her journey alone. Eventually she gets out of the service tunnel only to find Baxter waiting for her. At that moment the Brotherhood appears and shoots down Baxter to then capture all his men. Jade is mistaken as part of Baxter's team and gets knocked out too. In 2022 in Tijuana, Angel's interviewing the wife of a deceased factory worker. She describes how he was bitten at work, developed a rash around the wound, and became hypersensitive to light and sound. He became more and more aggressive, and after 3 days, he supposedly killed people. The woman hands Angel a USB drive with a document titled Raccoon City Incident and the picture of an explosion. At home, Jade gets a text from Simon inviting her to a party. Billie feels sick but still announces they should go because if she's going to die then may as well have fun beforehand. The party is happening at a building site, where Simon fails a skateboard trick. Billie copies his stunt and impresses everyone by doing it right. Meanwhile, Angel tracks Jade's address and infiltrates New Raccoon City in a delivery van while following various locals on social media. Angel is caught on the security cameras and Roth sends a picture to Evelyn, who immediately recognizes him. At home, Albert brings an injection for Billie but discovers the girls aren't around. He tries texting them yet they won't reply. In the evening, Angel finds the party thanks to pictures from social media and everyone runs away thinking he's a guard. The twins try to run away but Angel follows them to warn them they're in danger, revealing what happened to the first Raccoon City. They said it was destroyed by an explosion caused by a gas leak, but Angel explains it was a nuclear attack planned by the government to cover the first time the virus got out. Albert was there and died in 2009. There's also no records from the twins' existence anywhere. At that moment Angel grabs Billie and sees the wound, so the sisters panic and run away. Angel tries to follow them, only to be surrounded by umbrella guards. Later Evelyn interrogates Angel, who calls her out on the disappearance of the worker's wife and all the experiments. On the streets, the twins continue to run but Billie is feeling strange and starts shaking. She thinks she's about to transform, but time runs out and she's just fine. In 2036, Jade, Baxter, and his men are taken away in the Brotherhood's convoy while they learn that heretics are crucified upside down. However, Baxter isn't too worried because he has a chip in his arm and believes Umbrella is on the way. Eventually they're taken to a prison where the Brotherhood keeps around 300 Zeros chained up. The prisoners meet the Brotherhood leader, who believes the plague is God's judgment for man's heresy and the Zeros are transformed sinners made to kill other sinners so the world is left for the elect. Jade and Baxter are beaten up and thrown into a cell and Jade watches the Zeros, shocked that they're working in an organized way as they move the mechanism that powers the prison. Suddenly one of Baxter's men is dragged out of his cell and violently cut to pieces by a chainsaw, then the pieces are thrown at the Zeros for food. One of the creatures is Mother Zero, who eats before shrieking to make the other Zeros work again. Jade realizes she's controlling them, which means the virus does evolve. Terrified, Baxter asks Jade to help him escape in exchange for reporting her as dead. Together they push the cell door to remove it from its hinges and immediately kill the two guards on the corridor. Then they take a radio and the cell keys, which they use to free Baxter's soldiers. They also manage to recover their weapons, so when the chainsaw man tries to stop them, they shoot him down. Jade grabs the chainsaw while the soldiers start a gunfight with the other guards. Baxter pulls a bunch of levers to open the exit and accidentally releases the Zeros. Now the group has to shoot both guards and Zeros as they make their way through the building to escape. Baxter manages to fight pretty well and defeats a bunch of enemies, only to realize Jade is gone. She's found a tunnel and is running out with the Brotherhood. Hearing screeches, Jade decides to go back and closes a gate, separating Mother Zero from her horde. Then she uses the chainsaw to attack, decapitating the mother after some struggle. The Zeros are now coming after her, so Jade grabs the head and runs to hide in a room. There she uses the radio to call her daughter and share some loving words before the battery runs out. As the horde keeps pounding on the door, she tries the chainsaw again, but it isn't working. Nearby she finds a grenade and throws it at the door, but it doesn't work either. At that moment the Zeros push down the door and detonate the grenade, which kills most of the creatures and leaves Jade in a very weak state. When a Zero attacks her, it gets shot by Baxter. They start running together and Baxter keeps on shooting the Zeros that follow them. They find a ladder and Jade goes first, but when Baxter tries, the Zeros grab him and bring him down. While the beasts feed on Baxter, Jade escapes through a sewer hatch, only to be found by Umbrella soldiers. When one of them removes their helmet, Jade is shocked to see Billie. In 2022, Albert is looking for his daughters only for Roth to drag him to the Umbrella building, where Evelyn is scolding Simon on the phone for his party. It turns out he's her son. Then Evelyn takes Albert to see Angel, who has been beaten up but he still refuses to be bought into silence. She wants Albert to torture him and at first he refuses. However, when Angel mentions that he knows the twins, it infuriates Albert and causes him to start severely injuring him. At home, the twins search for their birth certificates. Instead, they find parts for a gun, a dog whistle, and a hidden laptop. This one uses a different password, so Jade calls Simon and he cracks it remotely. There are no interesting documents, but Simon finds a dead drop email, which is a system that needs a password to be put every 24 hours or the email will be sent. The message is for Billie, saying that Umbrella is after her and he left a bag ready for her to escape. Simon hacks into most of the cameras to play a loop, then the twins sneak around the others' cameras to find Albert's favorite picture. Inside there's a note with a clue, which takes the twins to the piano. They play Moonlight Sonata and discover something is jamming the key. After they remove it, they find another note that makes them move the piano. On the floor, they discover a hidden compartment containing a bag with tons of money, 2 passports with the twins' pictures but fake names, and a gun. Simon points out there must be a secret room for Albert to hide stuff in, and effectively they find a hidden door downstairs. The lock requires a special key and Jade remembers the dog whistle, so she uses it to summon Pablo. The dog's collar opens the door and the twins head down into the basement, where their call with Simon ends over the lack of signal. They find Albert's private lab with all their blood samples and a chair to hold someone down. There's a box labeled RC 1998 with a DVD, which plays footage of Albert injecting something into a mutated human. Another file describes Albert's intentions to strap Billie to the chair should she deteriorate. The twins agree to leave and Jade wants evidence, but when she unhooks the computer it triggers an alarm. As a fire starts in the room to burn all the evidence, the sister rush to the door and find it locked. They save themselves by climbing on a table until the extinguishers put out the flames. Suddenly Albert enters the room and Jade demands an explanation. Albert refuses to answer and Jade pulls a knife on him, causing him to get angry. Before he can hurt them, Billie knocks him out. Moments later Albert wakes up tied to the chair and finally talks. The dog that bit Jade was infected with T-virus which causes mutations, but Billie appears to be resistant to it. He also reveals that the twins' embryos were genetically modified to excel in mental and physical performances. Umbrella knows this and will preserve Billie as a lab specimen if they find out she's infected. Albert asks them about Angel and the sisters confirm he knows about Billie, so Albert says he needs to rescue him before he tells Evelyn and the girls agree to release him. The next morning, Albert goes to Umbrella and interrogates Angel while secretly showing him a note that asks if anyone else knows about Billie's bite. Angel says no and Albert injects him with a medicine that causes him to go into cardiac arrest and die. As a medical team rushes in, Evelyn accuses Albert of being Angel's mole and he's arrested. Angel's body is taken to the morgue for an autopsy, but as soon as the doctor makes a cut, Angel convulses as his skin changes color. Down in Umbrella's prison, Albert discovers there's someone in the cell next to his and is shocked to find an exact double of himself with a beard. In 2036, Jade is locked up at an Umbrella's base and is interrogated by Billie, who is working for Evelyn on her world domination goal. Suddenly Billie sends the other guards away and changes her tone, admitting she had been wrong to choose Umbrella and that Jade is immune to the virus but she isn't, it's just moving slowly in her. Billie then releases Jade as she tells her where to find a university search team and slices an Umbrella tracking chip from her arm so she can escape freely. After punching Billie, Jade collects the severed head of Mother Zero and runs out. Eventually Jade reaches the coast and is found by the university search team, who quickly take her to their ship. There Jade finally reunites with her family. Sometime later, the ship changes its route because they pass near a ghost craft, meaning there are Zeros alive underwater. Meanwhile Jade joins Amrita at the lab to perform an autopsy on Mother Zero's head. They learn that Mother's body is producing 2 enzymes, but they degrade upon exposure to oxygen. Over the night they go through 55 different tests to preserve the enzymes with artificial saliva, but in the end it's Jade's saliva that makes it work. They introduce T-virus to the enzymes, determining that one has an attractive property and the other a repelling property, meaning that these enzymes could be used to both ward Zeros away and to control them. In the middle of the night, Jade sneaks on a boat and fishes out a Zero for more tests. The Zero tries to attack her, but Jade puts it to sleep with an injection. In the morning, Jade ties the Zero up at the lab at the same time that becomes to see her. The girl gets scared, but Jade calms her down by saying she's found a solution and makes her stay by the door to watch. Jade covers her body with the mother's enzyme and pricks her finger before approaching the Zero. The trick works and the creature doesn't attack her, but when it comes closer, the Zero snarls. It manages to break its bindings and pushes Jade away to chase after B, who goes to other adults for help. The Zero finds Amrita and jumps on her, immediately killing her. At that moment a guard comes out and kills the creature, and Jade comes to take full responsibility. Amrita's husband is furious and tries to shoot Jade, but Arjun pushes his arm to make him fail. Suddenly they hear a noise and notice a bunch of helicopters approaching. A flashback then jumps to 2005, where 3 different Alberts are working together at an Umbrella outpost. Their personalities are different, but all 3 of them are clones of the original Albert, a superhuman who also is their leader. Original Albert notices one of his clones is listening to music and threatens to slice off another finger if he doesn't behave. Suddenly a bunch of soldiers bursts in to arrest them for their unauthorized use of Umbrella assets. With his enhanced abilities, Original Albert defeats them in seconds. However, there are more soldiers coming, so Original Albert tries to kill his clones to prevent them being used. The soldiers arrive faster than he thought and open fire, so he only manages to kill 1 clone before he runs away. The other 2 clones are arrested as Evelyn makes her way inside. In 2022, the Alberts in the cells of the clones, seeing each other again after 17 years. Bert has been locked up the entire time and is shocked to hear that Albert was allowed to have a life. Their conversation is interrupted when the guards take Albert away. He's tied to a chair so he can be interrogated by Evelyn, who knows his injection killed Angel and confirms that Bert was the one who created the medicine variant. Since Albert refuses to go along with Evelyn's plans, she asks Roth to inject him with the variant and Albert soon starts feeling sick. Meanwhile in the cell, Bert kills a guard with a razor and presses a pillow over another one to finish him off. He also shaves himself and leaves the cell looking exactly like Albert. Afterward, Bert shows up at the school with a stolen car and pounds on the horn until the twins come over him. He avoids answering questions by saying they'll talk later and they drive away, but the sisters are shocked by his crazy driving. The trio makes it to a restaurant and the girls notice their dad is behaving strange. Noticing a cut on his finger, they conclude Umbrella must have injected him with something. In the meantime, Evelyn goes home for dinner and puts some medicine in her wife's drink, which is noticed by Simon. Evelyn leaves the bottle behind to take a call from Roth and Simon uses the chance to steal some medicine. Then Evelyn asks her son to text Jade, saying she may be in trouble. Simon does so and Jade asks for help. Then Bert snaps at her waitress and the girls demand an explanation. Bert tells them about the clones, which scares the twins and they try to get away. The Umbrella agents appear outside so they have to run through the back door. Bert comes out and uses his amazing strength to kill all the agents, including the one that tries to tase him to no avail. Then he goes after Roth, who quickly tricks him to handcuff him to the car. Afterward, Roth forces the twins to go to Umbrella, where Evelyn shows them a very sick Albert. The men take blood samples from the girls while Evelyn explains that none of the clones weren't completely healthy, so Albert engineered the twins' embryos to use their blood in daily transfusions that kept him stable. Then Evelyn puts a sample in Albert's hand and he injects himself, quickly getting better. The twins are disgusted that they were created for this and say they hate Albert before running away. In 2036, Jade runs to Mother Zero's head and cracks it to find a tracking chip underneath. This is how Umbrella found them. The ship's leader Sakiam goes to the shore and meets with Evelyn, who hasn't aged at all. Evelyn wants Jade and threatens to blow up the ship if they try anything. On the ship, Jade is confined in a room. When Bee comes to visit, Jade tells her to get a hidden green duffel bag and leave the ship. Soon Jade is taken to the Umbrella base and is shocked to find Evelyn dancing in her tent. It's revealed that Billie has been controlling her with the medicine variant and she has been the actual head of Umbrella for years by controlling Evelyn from the shadows. She let Jade go to find the university's ship and now wants to keep her to use her blood as a stabilizer for herself. Billie controls Evelyn to order a guard to seize the ship and when Jade protests, the guard grabs her. Then Jade throws a bottle on the floor, releasing the attractor enzyme. Soon a huge horde of Zeros attacks the area, overwhelming the soldiers who don't have enough weapons to deal with such a huge amount of enemies. As the soldiers are killed one by one, the ship sees the attack and takes off, revealing they have a massive infected crocodile attached underwater. In 2022, Evelyn takes Bert back to his cell and offers him a new project as she reveals a strange humanoid creature in a tank. Meanwhile, Roth drops the twins at their house, telling them they have 5 minutes to pack and come back to the car. Obviously they want to escape, so Jade distracts Roth while Billie recovers the bag Albert left for them while dealing with unbearable dizziness. Afterward they sneak out through the window, but Roth catches them red-handed. Suddenly Billie goes crazy and attacks Roth so Jade tries to help her, but Roth quickly brings them both down. The reinforcements are getting closer, thus Billie tells Jade to run before tackling Roth again. Jade manages to escape and Billie gets captured. She's taken to Umbrella, where Evelyn manipulates her by promising to cure her. Tests are run and they conclude the T-virus is in her blood but inactive. Then Billie is injected with something that makes her convulse and scream. Meanwhile, Simon is worried about his mom's unusual behavior. Jade arrives with Pablo and tells Simon everything, making him realize what the medicine is doing to his mom. The lady accidentally cooks her finger while cooking, yet she doesn't feel any pain. Simon calls Evelyn and demands an explanation, causing her to snap and show her true colors. Furious, Simon hangs up and agrees to help Jade, hacking into the locks of Umbrella's building. Upstairs, Billie regains control of herself and fights back the lab tech, stabbing him in the eye with a syringe and slashing Evelyn. When she tries to leave, she's suddenly overwhelmed by hallucinations of blood, alarms, and the dog, causing her to have a breakdown. Luckily Bert shows up and snaps her out of it, convincing her to go see Albert. Both twins make it to Albert's room at the same time and the group agrees to escape together. Unfortunately, the security system kicks in while the creature wakes up in its tank. The group runs to hide, only for Billie to suddenly go crazy again. She attacks Jade and bites Simon, instantly infecting him. The guards surround them and Evelyn is horrified to see her son has been bitten, so she immediately shoots him. The clones use the chance to attack the guards and a gunfight ensues. Roth has no choice but to run away while all his men are killed. Then the clones drag the girls out to escape while Evelyn stares at the body of her son. The twins and the clones run out and sneak around to avoid security cars, hiding behind the first door they find. The clones begin soaking the lab with chemicals to make a bomb and Albert tells his daughters to escape with Bert while he stays to set the bomb off. As the trio runs away, Evelyn enters the lab and shoots Albert twice but he still manages to start the fire. Evelyn runs as the whole building goes up in flames. While the fire trucks go by, Bert steals a car and takes the twins out of town. The firemen successfully recover Evelyn from the wreckage, and from the rubble, the arm of the tank creature bursts out. In 2036, the soldiers try their best to protect the base but they keep going down. Billie hits Jade in anger and runs back into the tent, where Evelyn reminds her she's nothing without her. Outside, Two soldiers try to drag Jade away, but she quickly fights them and frees herself. At that moment, Billie activates Umbrella's drones, which begin to wipe out the Zeros and allows Jade to escape. Because she's still covered in the deterrent enzyme, the Zeros ignore her and she manages to make it to the shore. Arjun throws a rope for her to climb aboard the ship, then Jade convinces Sakim and Arjun to release the mutant crocodile. Eventually, Billie's drones succeed in wiping out the Zeros, but this also kills all the soldiers except for one. At that moment, the mutant crocodile arrives, ready to attack. On the ship, Jade realizes that Bee escaped to the shore like she told her to. Billie runs up the hill with the soldier, who is quickly killed when she makes the drone shoot at the crocodile. As the beast destroys a drone with its mouth, Billie finds a grenade in a soldier's pocket and throws it at the crocodile, causing it to roll down the hill into the water and knock down the helicopter in the process. Jade and Arjun are coming on a boat to look for Bee, but the crocodile's tail knocks them out. Minutes later, the couple wakes up on the shore, but Arjun's unable to walk and tells Jade to go find their daughter. Meanwhile, Billie shoots a few more Zeros as she runs and reaches a second helicopter, escaping right before the crocodile reaches her. Afterward, the beast chases after Bee, only to calm down when it smells her. Suddenly, the helicopter shoots some missiles, so Bee runs away while the crocodile dies. Then Bee is found by Jade, who takes the gun from her bag when Billie and her men try to approach them. Billie starts insulting her and makes her have a breakdown by pointing out everyone around her dies because of her selfishness. Jade agrees to leave with Billie if she lets Bee go, but Billie shoots Jade and takes Bee to the helicopter while Jade watches in tears. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.